I'd just like to start the video by thanking the people that watched the previous video. The last video got an influx of new viewers and a lot of really positive feedback. This week I've been feeling a little bit more doubt about what I'm doing. So it was very nice to call in and use your encouragement as a resource. Thank you so much for commenting. So this week's chapter was about power. And when I first opened the chapter, I thought it was going to be about my power. But what it ended up being about, in the way I interpreted it, was about how we give power to other people. It made me consider the right time to give power to the right person and the wrong time to give power to the wrong person. It talked about anger as a form of fuel, that we sometimes, when we start to feel anger building, we like to squeeze it down and hide it. And I think as my artist is beginning to wake up, I'm beginning to feel that more and more. I actually feel kind of ill. I live in a society that I'm not entirely happy with in the way that it functions. I feel that a lot of it's very cold and lacks the intimacy of human connection. It was not too long ago that parents could not visit their children in hospital. That kind of separation is disturbing to me. I wasn't allowed to stay with Cara overnight in the vet. That coldness disturbs me. I'm happy that she was having good care, but I really believe that things might have turned out better if I had been there with her. So as my artist is beginning to wake up, some of the numbness that I have to that frustration and some of the anger that I have towards society in that sense, my barriers are coming down, and I don't know whether I want to, I'm unsure whether to keep those barriers up or take them down. It makes me so angry, and I have these barriers that help me function in society. But as an artist, I think when you're in an artistic state, it is about fully expressing yourself, and anger is a part of that. I'm angry for a reason, that there's something wrong there, and I think the artist wants to express that, but it verges on panic attack for me, and I realize how much numbness and blocking and barriers have actually had a function in my life. They're not just these accidental things. They've been there to protect me, and taking them down is quite dangerous if it's not done in the right way. Julia Cameron talks a little bit about creative incubation, or I think it was a hatchery was the term she used. But you need a creative hatchery which is safe first, where when it's in its kind of early potential stage, you can't be giving it any negative pressure or too much stress. It needs to be a really nurturing environment where that tiny, vulnerable little chicken or whatever, little chick, can crack open and start to take form and start to come alive and become something that can live on its own with some nurture and care first. Criticizing something too early or hearing someone's negative comment about what you're creating can really negatively affect that early stage of development for your creative journey or your creative project. So I really appreciate that. It's not saying criticism is bad, it's saying you need criticism at the right time. There was a mentor I had when I was training at Rumbear. Her name is Gina, and she said to us, to do with choreographers, when choreographers are being difficult, they can say some very cruel things, or maybe what they're saying isn't necessarily cruel, but they say it in a mean way, maybe because they're stressed, maybe because they're genuinely an asshole. There are plenty of brilliant artists who are not brilliant people, and you have to work with them sometimes. But Gina said to us, take the information, don't take the energy. So when the choreographer says, which they shouldn't do, but they will, it's inevitable, it's how the industry is, when they say, oh my god, Jacob, what the fuck, you're out of time, and you're this, that, and the other, and your foot's out of line, and your head's turned the wrong way, you call yourself a professional. So instead of taking the energy of that, which is extremely negative, you just take the information, which was, I was out of time. And you can fix that, you can take responsibility for that, and you can get in time. Now if the choreographer is saying, you were out of time, and you weren't out of time, let them blow their head off. What's going to change? Who cares? It only matters, and it can only hurt your feelings if you give the choreographer power in your mind. If in your mind that person's opinion and the way that they're talking about you matters. I like to think that when someone I really respect as a dancer, if they were to say, let's say they were a mentor or something, and they said to me, "You're a shit dancer," that would really upset me. However, if there was a kind of stroppy child who was grumpy at me because I told him that it's bedtime, and he just wanted to find something to hurt my feelings, and he just said, "Well, you're a shit dancer." Well, he probably wouldn't say shit at that age. I wouldn't necessarily be offended by that. I might even find it slightly funny because this kid's being grumpy with me, and I can kind of appreciate it when a child's doing that. I recognize it in myself. It's kind of funny to think, oh, I was a bit like that when I was little. So they don't have the same power. And that's not because it's a child and a mentor. It's because of your idea of them in your mind. It's like you have given this mentor power in your mind, and you have not given this child power in your mind. So it's just this point in the course, not just about power, but about empowering. How can you empower yourself based on who you give power to? Make very careful selections of which mentors you give power to, because some of them are terrible. They're not going to be good, especially the choreographers that we were talking about. They're going to be terrible people to give power to in your mind. Don't even go there, man. This week's chapter reminded me of another text that I've read, another author, Byron Katie. Byron Katie is a brilliant author, and she has this idea that's just called the work. The work is all about looking at what's true and taking responsibility for the things that you feel, anger included. Fundamentally, the idea is that instead of thinking, I'm angry that this person hurt me, maybe what you're really thinking, if you investigate it, is you're angry at yourself for giving that person the power to hurt you with their words, which is a very powerful idea when it comes to agency. You can't have any agency in the things that other people do. That's their business. Your business is, how do you handle what they say? You need to choose who you give power to. So I feel like if you were to take this chapter, if any of you are going into week 3 or want to reread week 3, I know some of you watching have already done the course, but reread it alongside Byron Katie's stuff. Peace out, take care.